daughter had almost gone into her bedroom and went to the sleep. This is a real story I'm telling. In the morning, she was up in the breakfast, and the first thing she gives the mother a hug. Mom, I never knew you loved me so much. And I appreciate that you are trying to cool down and you are trying to not to get angry with me. And I love you. And the whole day they both went out and had a wonderful day. And that is the day a tremendous bond was created. And that is the day onwards the girl started sharing everything with her mother. Now, this is a real life example which happened at my office. Now, what do you learn? Like emotional reactivity doesn't help. So, parenting is very difficult these days, and the focus has to shift from the behavior of your children to your own behavior. Now, it would be very unfair of me to ask this question, but I'll have to ask this question because I have to do justification to the school, the authorities. How many of you are working on your emotional growth? Honestly, tell me. You don't have to raise your fingers. You have to talk to yourself. Honestly, tell me how many of you are working on your emotional intelligence and emotional reactivity with your husbands, with your parents, with your children, with your relationships. Are your relationships growing, becoming more trustable, more affectionate, more reliable, more cherishing? How many are, if you are working, focusing on your own self? Because we have, as I said, worked on a faulty module. We want to make everybody happy in the home. And that is the preaching given by the mothers when they say goodbye when you get married. This is a faulty module. You never live for yourself, start living for the others. Now, I have a reason why I'm saying why you should focus on your own self, look after your own body, your emotional needs, your creativity, what you wanted in life, what were your aspirations, what were your inspirations. Because if you are happy, you will become a source of influence of happiness and growth in your own family. The first step is to fulfill your own needs. But here, what is going on? We are trying to control each other. And do you think we can control everybody in life? We cannot control our wives, forget children. Or wives can control their husband. And that's the reason why in the middle of the night, early in the morning, first thing the wife done is checking the husband's mobile, what she was doing, he was doing in the night, chatting with whom, and the wife is doing vice versa. And early in the morning, they fight in the front of the children, and they want their children to be calm, disciplined, goody boys. ऐसा हो सकता है कभी? ये ट्रस्ट फैक्टर ही चला गया है. So, yes, we have a worried anxiety over drugs, television viewing, mobile and all. But apart from there, the most important thing which I want to convey today is, are you working on your own self? Your own emotional self. Are you trying to control your emotional reactivity, your anger, your anxiety? This is creating more problems in your children's life, in your relationships. पर हमें वो नहीं करना. So, the module is okay, but we are following without understanding. Yes, you should influence, you should make your family happy, but to make yourself happy, you have to love yourself. In a very well researched study by my professor in UK, Scott Peck, what he did is he collected 1,000 parents and successful people from all over the world who are successful on all spheres of life, wealth, health, relationships, children, grandchildren, everywhere. And the answers were compared. And the first answer was same. Who was the most important person in your life? Myself. And the next question is, when you say myself is the most important, do you stand up for yourself? Do you stand up for your dignity? Do you take care of your emotional needs? Do you do things which you don't like just to appease others? I know I have a financial crunch, but I have to have iPhone because my child's friend's mother has an iPhone. How stupid I would look if I don't have an iPhone. I go to kitty party and I am not having an iPhone. So, are you into buying a pseudo self-esteem? Are you not proud about yourself? Do you do enough exercises? Do you do meditation? Do you do yogas? Then you can say that yes, I love myself. Otherwise, how you can say you love yourself? So, this is how what I mean to say, if you make yourself most important person in your life, your emotional reactivity to the tantrums, behaviors, screaming, and emotional blackmailing done by your children will go down. Now, the last thing which I like to address is most of the parents, in a lot of studies in India also done by Indian Association of Psychiatrists in Niemann's, a lot of studies, research have been done, and 70% of the couples in India today, you'll be shocked. I don't know whether it applies here or not, but anywhere between 50 to 70% of the couples are living divorce within the marriage. They are not happy with each other, but they are continuing to stay together because they have children. Am I right or wrong? Am I right or wrong? બધાએ સાચી વાત છે? 100% right. હવે you don't have courage to get out because of insecurity, anxiety. And every time, because I am on parenting, so every time there is a conflict between the father and mother, either the father would go and children, if it would have been not for you, I would have left your mother. And the mother would say, if तू ना हो, अगर आप तू नहीं होती तो मैं कब से उससे जुदा हूं. What a scapegoat. What has the child to do with your relationship? What nonsense you are talking? कितने बेवकूफ है. इनको मैं इंसेनिटी बोलता हूं. जो पिक्चर में पागल दिखाते ना, वो पागल नहीं है, वो तो ज्यादा समझदार है. यहाँ बैठे कितने सेन है, इंसेन है. मेरा ये खत्म हो जाए, उसके बाद घर जाके एकांत में बैठ लेना, हैव योर स्पेस एंड प्लेस, एंड देन डिसाइड, थिंक ओवर. My humble suggestion is think over it. Now, is it a maturity? Tell. Is it a maturity to make your children a scapegoat for being in a wrong marriage and wrong relationship because you don't have courage and guts to get out? Or you don't have to work and take a professional help and see that your marriage works? And if you want to fight, conflict, eat each other slangs. I've seen a lot of families where father verbally abusing, mother verbally abusing, गालियां देना, गंदी गालियां बोलना. बच्चे क्या सीखेंगे? And sending them to the best of the schools, and then you want schools there to make them the best children? How is it going to happen? One thing I would suggest, and I want to spread this message very loud. Like we are running a suicide helpline whereby anybody who commits suicide, we do a psychological autopsy these days. If you have seen a Three Idiots movie, it is very well depicted. One of the heroine's brother, he could not complete a project, and after 4 years of torture by the teachers and professors, he commits the suicide. And the day he commits his suicide, his project was functional. And then there's a beautiful dialect. The cause of death is not asphyxia or strangulation. The cause of death is the pressure and burden given by the parents and teachers to this child. That is the cause of it. So any child who is misbehaving in the school, who is misbehaving in the family, who is misbehaving in the neighborhood, we say psychological autopsy of behavioral pattern should be done. That is, you should see, you should send your school social worker, school counselor to the home to find out what is going on at the home. The evaluation of the teacher who has assessed has to be done. Now, in some of the schools, with due apologies, a new system has started. That they send 2 teachers to visit the school. And what do they, you know, how foolish we are. If I were the parent of that school, I would never send my kid to that or my grandchildren. What they see, how many bedrooms you have a playroom space, what kind of furniture you have, what kind of gadgets you have. And do you think me and my wife and my son and my wife, they are going to quarrel in front of them? Or they are going to open out what problems they have with the mother-in-law, daughter-in-law, and there's all rest of the time, all of them are in their bedrooms having TV and all. What kind of thing you are doing? બદરાભાઈ સાચી વાત છે ખોટી વાત છે? એટલે ઇન્ફ્રાસ્ટ્રક્ચર જોઈને છોકરાને લેવાનું. The teacher should go and stay 1 week there, and then they should decide what is the environment of the house. તો કદાચ સુધરી બી જાય પેલા બે, ટેવ પડી જાય સારી રીતે રહેવાની. આદતે બીજો બદલ બી जा सकती है. But see, आपने मुझे सुना, thankful. I was little subtle. At times, my tongue flowed. I call you insane. But my definition of insanity is this, because people who don't accept that we don't have control over others, who accept that they are sane, who don't accept that they are insane. The last thing I would say is, expect less, accept more. That will bring calmness and peace to everybody. With that, thanks you everybody. Thanks for bearing with me. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker, Mr. H.S. Patel, an IAS officer. May I request our chairman, sir, Shri Jayendra Bhai Shah, to please escort our distinguished guest towards the stage. What an illustrious career to his count. Various posts held during his career. He worked as Deputy Collector and Subdivisional Magistrate from 87 to 95, Deputy Municipal Commissioner Baroda from 95 to 2000, Secretary Electricity Board Baroda, Chief Executive, Managing Director, Dakshin Gujarat વીજ Company, Mehsana, Collector and District Magistrate Rajkot from 2008 to 11, Managing Director Surat, presently working as Director of Disaster Management. He has done specialization in urban management from Singapore. A very warm welcome and cheerful welcome to you, sir. May I request Shri Jayendra Bhai Shah, our chairman, Bright School, to please welcome our guest with flowers and the token of love memento. Thank you, sir. The stage is all yours, sir. You are humbly requested to enrich us with your words of wisdom.
So, without taking much time, taking you on the main subject, the avenues in a public service and role of a public service is a very important because the people at large see us as a amaldar, typical bureaucrat, or as an officer. But if we go to the roots of administration, starting from our the Vedic period or the various stages in our history like Gupta period and Khilji and Mauryas and Mughals and Britishers ultimately, you know, the always we are governed by someone. The form of government may be different, maybe a monarchy, kingship, the democratic setup and various rulers. And to my mind, they have also contributed like the during the Akbar time, if you see that there were the we always used to tell a Navaratna. So among the Navaratna, the selected chosen people to administer the state. Same way, where we live and stay, uh, we see the administration of Sayaji Rao, where we are sitting. In this hall is even also named after Sayaji Rao. He was one of the best ruler. But how he translated everything, it is through the set of a bureaucracy, maybe in a different form. Even the T. Madhav Rao, who trained Sayaji Rao, the very important book written by the Madhav Rao, the lectures to a Sayaji Rao. And his teacher was a T.S. Eliot. So everyone has to go through this stage. Maybe a Maharaja or anyone, one has to go through the stage of first education and then again a career. So coming to a public service, when we got an independence, as you all know, the constitution provides for the three organs of the state. One, legislature, second is executive, and third is judiciary. As we know, I think many of the students and parents are also aware that three organs plays a very important role, but legislature always dominate because in a democratic setup, if we see, that is one of the best form of government because it is the reflection of the voice of a people, rightly or wrongly. We know that we are not still a mature democracy, we can definitely say, but despite that, we have a one of the best constitution. Over the period, the drafters of the constitution, if they also see today's situation, you know, anything should not be a static, everything should be a dynamic. And to suit the need of a society, ultimately the framers of the constitution, many of you know that regarding the service, when the chapter was to be written on a public service, like the Article 315 provides for the creation of the Public Service Commission. Public Service Commission may be a Union Public Service Commission or the State Public Service Commission. So both have a mandate, the UPSC at the national level, that is union. At state level, there is a, earlier there used to be a provincial state commission. In case of UPSC, during British time, there was a federal public service commission. So, again taking you back to a history of this country, the 1857 is the turning point in the history of the India. That is, 1857 is the first incident of a rising of a Indian people. આપણે કોઈક વાર કહીએ છીએ કે આ વિપ્લવ હતો, બળવો હતો, but it was awakening first time against the British Raj. And that was a turning point. And then after, when it was a failed, so-called the Viplav or the mutiny we can say, it was failed because of so many reasons, but that is a turning point in the Indian history and the Britishers consolidated their position. And that is how the concept of the Indian civil service was conceptualized by the Britishers to rule this country from the Britain, that is UK. So it is a popularly known as a Indian civil service, and as you know that many of the great leaders, even the Subhash Chandra Bose, though during those days the exam used to be conducted in UK. Then after the decision was taken, then after that one of the center will be in India, but he also got selected during that time. But within a span of 4 months, he left the Indian civil service and joined in the freedom movement. So the students, particularly nowadays, there is a lot of craze for joining the civil service. But if we go by data of the Indian Administrative Service, the very few representation we can say that from Gujarat. I am mentioning specifically for a Gujarat, and Vajrajani knows that I am again taking back you since I worked as collector Rajkot. So when we got liberated, the Indian civil service people decided to leave this country. After 1946, when the interim government was to be formed, the Britishers decided that we'll wind up this service. And naturally, there was a lot of, I can say that it was a very dilemma that how this country will be ruled. But the visionary leaders like Sardar Patel, he got this idea that we required a committed bureaucracy, committed civil servant who can translate our vision. Because even today, the legislature, they frame a law, they legislate the law, but ultimately it is to be implemented by the executives. So it was a period during that transition stage